Those recent Doomsday trailers keep rattling around in my mind, and even after talking about them in last week's video, I still can't shake off the Doomsday prep. Not so much because I'm excited for the movie, because to be completely honest, I'm in a neutral state, where I could take it or leave it. Something I never thought I'd say about an Avengers movie, especially one starring Doctor Doom and the Fantastic Four. No, the real reason this movie has lived inside my psyche is mainly due to the repercussions it has on the future of the MCU. How it leads into Secret Wars and what that movie would end up doing by the time the credits roll. And the main little idea running around my brain right now is, what if Doomsday and Secret Wars end up being great? Not necessarily better than the previous phases of Avengers movies, but simply solid crowd pleasers that somehow bring together the entire multiverse saga, and conclude all the characters' stories in a meaningful and emotional way. If this happens, will it save Marvel? Okay, there's been a lot of talk about Marvel being dead and Marvel having a comeback over the past 5 years. And to me, pretty much all of that talk has been absolutely hyperbolic on both fronts, and basically goes back and forth on whatever the newest project is. So I'll lay down some ground rules for why I believe Marvel is actually in a dead state, and what would be considered an alive and well state. I think Marvel completely died last year. Even though prior they were in a rough shape creatively, they were still making decent money at the box office, COVID projects aside, and a decent amount of their shows were still doing gangbuster views. They still had a great deal of viewership even if the quality of projects were all over the place and at times completely random. So why do I say Marvel was dead following 2025? Even though I believe creatively this has been their strongest year in a while, nobody showed up for their projects this year the way they would have only 6 years prior. And for the past 6 years, we have seen a steady decrease in viewership. And this year just hit an all-time low. They still released an outstanding 8 projects this year, with 3 movies, a decent amount in my opinion, but then 5 Disney Plus projects. And it seems like out of those 5, the only thing that got true viewership was Daredevil Born Again. But while bringing in 7.5 million views for its 2-episode premiere, making it Disney Plus's biggest TV premiere of that year, it still seems to not have been the big smash hit Marvel was looking for. With Ironheart seemingly getting anywhere from 1.57 million viewers to 1.8, depending on which report you read. And Eyes of Wakanda getting 2.1 million viewers. With shows like Marvel Zombies and Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man not even having their numbers released, showing they most likely did worse than the other Disney Plus Marvel projects for 2025. Then there's the biggest one, the box office for their theatrical releases. No man, was it rough last year. Brave New World had a starting budget of $180 million. But due to the extensive reshoots, reports say the budget could have ballooned to up to $350 million. Because they essentially had to refilm entire sections of already shot sequences, while adding new ones. And the box office came out to a measly $415 million, which on its original $180 million budget would have made it close to breaking even. But the inflated budget only made matters worse, with an estimated loss for the film being between $100 million to $250 million. And personally, I do believe it reached the $200 million range. Then our next MCU entry for 2025 was Thunderbolts, my personal favorite MCU film post-Endgame. But sadly, it got the worst box office out of the 3, coming in at $382 million worldwide, on a $180 million budget. And if we took marketing into account, which the basic rule to see if a movie broke even or made money is to take the production budget and multiply it by 2.5 times. leading Thunderbolts to have needed around $450 million globally to only break even, making it close to a $100 million loss for Marvel. Then, lastly, we have yet another outstanding venture for Marvel with Fantastic Four First Steps. With a budget of $200 million, the production supposedly finished with some change left over, spending around $180 million. Having a box office of $521 million and actually being a success. Once again, using the budget and marketing method, if we take 200 times 2.5, that's 500. But I did see multiple reports saying the marketing budget was actually $170 million for this movie. So let's just say that's true and add $180 million and $170 million together, getting us a total of $350 million. So the movie made around $171 million in profit. But even with that said, it seems to still be considered an underperformer, especially given how MCU movies used to make money. Now, I'm not going to bore you with more detailed orientated specifics in box office and budget, but I do think it's important to compare and contrast. So I'll just give 3 other MCU film examples from the past that closely resemble the projects that came to theaters in 2025, with only the box office, not the profits or losses, simple worldwide box office. Captain America: The Winter Soldier made $714 million back in 2014. Guardians of the Galaxy, a film about a group of essentially villains turned good guys with a team no mainstream audience ever heard of, made $772 million in 2014, outbeating Winter Soldier in the same year. Then lastly, we're going to use Spider-Man: Homecoming as our First Steps reference. Since honestly the Fantastic Four pre-MCU used to be as popular as Spider-Man. And the only reason I think their 20th Century Fox movies didn't make as much money really came down to the quality of those films. But Homecoming, being a third take for a character, setting it within the MCU, made $880 million. Now honestly, did I think Fantastic Four would have made almost $900 million? No. But I really do think if this movie came out in like 2018 or 2019, it would have cleared $700 million easily. My point in all this is there is a clear sense of death in the MCU, and for every No Way Home or Deadpool and Wolverine, every other project either underperforms or loses money. And for every critically acclaimed project like WandaVision or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, you get a bunch of She-Hulks and Love and Thunders. So with all that said, going straight back to the question of this video, the question keeping me up at night: if Doomsday and Secret Wars truly knock it out of the park, will the MCU come back to full health? No, I don't think so. As already mentioned, there's too much distrust for Marvel within the mass audience, and the main fans as well, that even though 1 or 2 projects might be considered a success, they still aren't showing up for the others. The audience has been very choosy, and they're only getting pickier each coming year. And if we take into account the economic state of the world right now, and the fact that every movie goes to streaming in a month, just because 1 or 2 films come out good, it's not like everybody is gonna immediately go jumping into Marvel's arms again. But with that said, I do think that time will come again. I truly believe that just like the comics, there will be a renaissance, and Marvel maybe won't find the exact same success they had over the industry the way they did from 2008 to 2019, but they will have a golden era once more. I believe once this current saga is over and they reboot the MCU, something Feige has said himself, something I'm not exactly a fan of, but completely understand why they feel the need to do it, they will minimize their film and TV budgets, especially their TV budgets, and go back to doing 2 movies a year, and maybe 2 live action shows, and then 1 animated thing, giving them a more realistic 4 or 5 project limit a year, with them already having a head of TV in Brad Winderbaum, who from every interview I've seen with him truly understands what actions need to be taken in order to bring back the MCU's success. And then of course having Feige stick to primarily the film side of things, instead of how it was for 5 years where he was simply spread too thin doing everything. and also keeping the TV side of the MCU less connected to the films the way it was in this saga. With these tighter budgets, smaller amounts of projects, and an MCU reset, it gives them the opportunity for a fresh start, while not overwhelming its audience by bogging them down with shows they don't know if they have to watch or not, and simply projects that don't service the MCU as a whole and only exist to be filler on a streaming platform. And with more limiting budgets, it allows them to be more free in their storytelling since less money is on the line. And it gives them a higher chance at actually bringing in a profit. So yeah, even though I think the MCU is dead and I don't think Doomsday and Secret Wars will save it, the sun will shine upon Marvel again. It's just gonna take a while. And I personally cannot wait for that day to come.